And we are going live. It's going to get real exciting here, folks, as soon as I can see myself show up. Hey, is this thing working? Dink, dink, dink. Okay. Let's see. So how's it looking, people? Am I alive and well? Am I here? Unsupported resolution. No. No, please tell me you can see me. Can you see me? Hey, Misted. Hey, Anne-Marie. Revelar. Hey, Middle Mac. I recognize a couple of your names. That's kind of cool. Hey, yeehaw, Luna. The Rat. Awesome Queen. Gail Polly. Ella Cavalar. Evader. 2007. Alan Lewis. Thanks, Middle. Yee McGee. Cadence Sixberry. Charlotte. Ann Roach. Ella again. Panic at the Fandom. Psy. Noah. Bale Bay. Kelvin, Just Your Average Weirdo, Leia J, Evader 2007, Keith. Oh my gosh, there's so many of you guys. Thanks for being here, guys. I am super excited to be talking today about how to write song lyrics, and I'm assuming that because you're here, you're probably wanting to talk about how to write song lyrics, which means you may be a lyric writer. And so the first thing I want to say is just a general encouragement that you are doing a worthwhile thing. Any time you spend trying to write song lyrics is never time wasted, and it's healthy for you. It can help other people. And it's just overall a really great thing to take part in. So we're going to be talking about that today. I'm excited to be talking to you guys. So glad that you're here. Let's begin talking. Can you see me and hear me okay? Is everything coming through well on your side of the internet? And I'll just blather on for a second more just to make sure that you guys are all tracking with me. Yes, yes, yes. Good. Great. Thanks, guys. I really quickly like to hear, kind of just how your guys' day is going. Here it's a beautiful sunny day, nice temperature, very moderate. Even so, it's like 4 p.m., but I would, go outside and enjoy it. And yes, let's see, 6th said this live stream is 3 minutes early, so yeah, we're actually just kind of chilling for 3 minutes. At 4, we'll jump into things. So glad to hear that you're doing well. Awesome Queen, Luis. Luna, Ellie, Middle Mac. Gail is dying of heat. Well, you ought to come to Virginia. It's really nice today. Where I am, it's 9 in the afternoon, Ryan. Wow. Leia, had my history final. Yeah, how are finals and end of semester things going for you guys? I just finished the last of my grading yesterday, so now I get to be a lot more relaxed, and I get to just chill out and do all the rest of the work that I've been putting off all semester, and it's a lot of fun. But I've also been doing, I've started PhD classes again. I took a break for the spring because I really needed it, and now I am beginning work on my dissertation. So I'll be doing 12 credits of PhD work, which for reference is about how much, it's almost as much as you're supposed to do an entire year, and I'm going to do it in about 14 weeks, which will be fun, but it'll be totally cool. Let's see. Anne-Marie, I'm so sorry I have to leave this live stream this early. Oh, bye. So sorry. Tony, music's helping you get through your slump. I'm really glad to hear that. Hello, Ines, Lindsay, and Stein. And let's see who else said something. Chillin' Louisiana. Luna the Rat from Louisiana. Cool. Yeah. School is out for me in a few days. Luna, that's awesome. Enjoy. Skip school today, Gail did, for finals because there was a threat to my school. Wow. Okay, well, I'm glad that you're safe. Yeah. 2 exams for Stein and 2 more the week after. Whoa. Okay, yeah, that's actually a lot of work. Good luck with that. But yeah, so other than that, things are going pretty well. Just chilling. My little brother moved into our house for at least a couple of weeks while he's finding another place to live. So we'll see how that goes. Having a good time with him. You probably noticed he was in the Tuesday video. If you guys aren't familiar with this yet, I'm trying to do like lyric writing tips videos. There's dust on my camera. It's bothering me. Okay, we're good now. Trying to do lyric writing videos. Focusing on those on Tuesdays, and then doing like video essays and stuff on Thursdays, talking about new music on Friday. And I was going to start doing live streams on Saturday, but I decided to do this first one on Thursday before we get into a regular schedule. So stuff going down, having a good time. Oh, there's a button that says play ad. Man, wouldn't that be sick? Okay, cool. I'd never seen that before. All right, not going to do that to you guys. This isn't about ads today. So yeah, let's go ahead and start talking about some song lyrics and see what we got. So I sent everybody who is subscribed to my email list, where if you get the magical songwriting process, it's in the description of all my videos. Totally worth it because it's free, but it's also like 9 steps to help you write a good song every time. I emailed all of them and asked them for questions about songwriting, and I tried to compile some of their questions into just a question if people had similar questions. It still ended up being like 36 questions, which is a lot, but we're going to start marching through those, and then I'm going to be keeping an eye on the chat a little bit too, and see if any other good questions come up, which I'm sure they will. Luis, am I going to delete this podcast? Not anytime soon. Every once in a while I'll go through and I'll like delete some videos that just nobody seemed to care about, but that's usually like every 6 months or something. Do I have any example lyrics or songs available to the public? I made a video called Metro Mind, which is actually a spoken word poem that you can go check out. And what do you do when you get too repetitive with your word choice in different songs? We actually have a question coming up today that is very similar to that, so we will talk to that soon. All right, so question number 1 was from Victoria, Bandito, and Marshall. And this is a question that a lot of people have when it comes to lyric writing. Do I do the music first, the lyrics first, or both? And the answer to that is you do whatever you want. I find that if you're going to write a rap, a lot of times it can be very helpful to have the beat first, from what I've kind of studied and noticed. When it comes to writing something that's a little bit more like poetic based, like if the lyrics are the most important thing and you're really trying to be poetic with those, sometimes it can be really good to start with the lyrics. A lot of times it comes down to what's most important and start with that thing. In the case of the song, sometimes people really want to communicate a message through the music. Sometimes they want to communicate it through the lyrics. I would start with whatever one is more important in the situation, or whatever one you have the most inspiration about. I think that it would be a lot easier to put lyrics to a song than it would be to put a song to lyrics. But at the same time, there's really something to be said for either putting a beat on or just playing around on your guitar, ukulele, or your piano or whatever, and just doing a simple chord progression and kind of making up the lyrics as you go and then writing them down. I think that's probably my favorite way to do it whenever I've put together lyrics. So that's what I would say to that. Question number 2 from Peter and Lauren. How do I keep from writing too many ideas into a song and instead bring it to a clear goal or end? How do you narrow your topic? So Peter and Lauren were basically both struggling with, I've got all of these ideas and my song just keeps going from thing to thing to thing, ping, 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 ping. And so how do you narrow that down to one specific, just topic? How do I bring the story to an end and wrap it up? And that's actually a really difficult question because there's probably a million different ways to do it. I would probably start by outlining. Honestly, I would outline it. If you're going to narrow the topic in the first place, journaling can be a really good way to do that, and you kind of figure out what specific you want to talk about. Because if you're like, I'm writing a song about depression. Okay, cool. What about depression? They're like, well, I don't know what about depression. Then you say, well, what's your personal experience with it? And that's a good place to start. When it comes to narrowing the goal and the focus of the song itself, it can be really helpful to outline it. So you kind of say, all right, I want to use a few verses or a chorus and a pre-chorus. Well, what is the main message of each of those stanzas? And kind of outline that and say, all right, we're going to talk about verse 1 first, and then the pre-chorus comes, and the chorus comes, and the verse, the pre-chorus, the chorus, the bridge, the chorus. And every single one of those, you should write a quick sentence that says, this is the point, this is the feeling, this is the idea of this stanza, and then you can fill those in completely. So you just have to start from a bird's eye view instead of an ant's view where you're just marching through the grass or the stanzas and the lyrics and the words, and instead start from above, plan it out, and then march through. So that's what I've got there. Question 3 was from Bree, Rachel, H, Bandito, and Nathan. Where does a beginning songwriter start or find inspiration? What would you suggest doing when you can't find things to write about? / how do you come up with new topics? / not feeling like you have any topics because you might be too young. And this, I think, is a really common one for people. Where do we go to find good topics? Speaking of which, if you sign up for the How to Write 21 Pilots, Write Lyrics Like 21 Pilots, there's a whole lesson on this one in particular. But I would say that, again, a really good place to go is yourself, and journaling is a really good way to pull things from you. It's like if you ever try to write a research paper and you're like, I'm just going to kind of skip the research part, just write the paper, get this done. You write a really crappy research paper. But if you go and you read a ton about it and you kind of give your brain the fuel and the energy, then it's a whole lot easier to create something. It really is like that, where you're basically fueling the fire. The more fuel you give to the fire, or the more gas you give to the car, the hotter it'll burn or the farther it will go. And so to find topics, to think of a topic and put out topics, you have to take in information. So you learn about something, you learn about yourself, you talk to other people. That's how you get topics. Question number 4. As soon as we get to question number 5 or 6, I'll take a quick break and pull some questions from the chat. Question number 4, Jen Nikolai and Nuclear Outcast asked, how do I tell a story in a song? And that's a really good question because song lyric writers are storytellers. You're telling a story musically and you're using lyrics to support that, or vice versa. So if you're going to tell a story in a song, a really important thing to do is to think of what the story is, to kind of plan it out, have that bird's eye view, but to think to yourself emotionally, this story, what's the beginning? Where do I start emotionally or as a person, or where does the character start? What happens? How does the person react? And then how does that end? So there's 4 or 5 parts. I think I'm missing one. It's like, who is the person? What happens? How do they react? How does that turn out? And then where does it all end up? I guess so. I just maybe missed the 5th one, but it's a basic 5-act plot where you're saying you're going up and you're going down, and it's not necessarily. And some stories, especially modern stories, will begin in the middle, or they'll end in the middle, or something like that, or they'll leave off a part or whatever, or there'll really not be any climax. But it's not really a story if there's not like something happening. So as far as storytelling goes, just ask yourself those basic questions. That's part of the planning process. Where do I begin? What happens? Where do I end? And that's the story. So look at that, and then you can communicate that through the music. You could do the same line repeating over and over and over again, but the music dynamics change, which could tell the entire story. Or you could literally tell a story in your lyrics. Then question 5 is from Joshua. How do you balance having interesting rhyme schemes and rhythm with still telling a compelling story? That's a really good and a related question. And basically what happens with that is some people will get way too distracted by trying to be really clever, whether they're rhyming something or using word pictures or metaphors, and they'll totally forget the story. But story is king because people don't connect with rhymes, they connect with story. So if you want to get the absolute most power out of your lyrics that you can, you've got to tell a story. That's why Trench is so powerful. That's why so many of Panic at the Disco songs are just narratives that happen. So many of Panic at the Disco's most popular songs are narratives that we just happen. You know, the bridegroom and the waiter, or whatever, the best man and the waiter. You overhear them talking and you say, close the door, right? And so a lot of that, the power is in the storytelling because we get to hear what's happening. And so we can either put ourselves in there, we can judge what's happening, but we can sort of, in a way, experience it for ourselves. So balancing between those two things is not always easy, but I would say that the best way to balance between being clever and telling a good story is to just tell a good story and then fill it in with cleverness. Either that, or ask yourself, what's the purpose of this song? And do each of the individual parts distract from it? So you're trying to tell a story. It's a story-focused song. Cool. Well, here, this clever rhyme. Should I keep it or not? Well, does it distract from the story? If it does, get rid of it. Save it for something else. If it doesn't, leave it in there. When you get to a song where the point is to be clever, well, yeah, there's not even a question. In that case, you might be like, well, is the story, do we want to keep that there? Because then the point of the song isn't necessarily to connect with people. So you got to have a purpose in mind for your songs as you're writing them. And that might grow and develop while you're writing, but you got to find that purpose and then measure everything by it. And then question number 6, and we'll get into some chat comments from Tyler. Probably not Tyler Joseph, I don't know. How can I get into the right state of mind to write lyrics? There's not really a right state of mind. You could be really, really angry and write some really good lyrics. You could be really sad. You could be really distracted. That's probably the worst mindset, is being distracted. So I would just say, focus. Don't multitask. Get social media out of there. Put YouTube far away. Get rid of me. Go and just be by yourself somewhere, and just get rid of distractions. But all right, let's see if we have some questions in the chat, which we do, and I'll answer a couple here. I'm always having trouble. Radiance for him says, I'm always having trouble being clever enough when I write. How do you get past that? Well, the point is not to be clever. If you're having a song where You want to be clever, great, but it's far more important to be honest. And then if cleverness is appropriate in a situation, great, but don't try to be something that you're not. I mean, not that you're not at all clever. I'm just saying, write in a way that's natural for you. Middle says, hey guys, I know this is kind of off topic. Oh, okay, never mind. I guess it's off topic. Hail E. Oh, it's talking to somebody else. How do you choose a main theme overall story for an album or song? Awesome Queen 04 asks. Well, what do you want to write about? Write about that. Some of these things it's good to not overthink and to just go for it. And again, to kind of answer the question of what is the purpose. If the purpose is self-expression, well, just as long as you're expressing yourself, great. If it's to reach other people and to help them, well, go talk to other people, find out what they need to hear, Middle Mac asks, how do you write deep songs with deep lyrics that are depressing? Only because they are real, but my parents don't like them because it's dark, but it's just my feelings. Well, I mean, it sounds like you did it. Sounds like you're writing deep songs with deep lyrics that are depressing. So it's not really a question, perhaps, then of how to write them, but a question of how to feel okay about writing them if other people don't like them. And I don't have a huge answer for that, and I don't know what your parents' rules are on, whether you have to share the things that you write or not. But I particularly tell people when they journal that they should not try to share that with other people, because that's their perspective and that's where they're kind of sorting things through. So if you use these songs to understand yourself better, you need to give yourself the safety of not feeling like what you need to be able to be honest. And I find that it's much easier for me to be honest when it doesn't feel like, oh, I have to go show this to somebody and answer for what I've written. Where do you get melodies? I don't know, from the air. You just start messing with it. Really and honestly, I would just start messing with it. Go on the piano, hit all the white keys, and see if something comes out of it. Yeah. Okay, so is it appropriate to call out people directly? Well, are you Eminem? It depends on whether you want these people to be your friends afterwards. Hey, Salma, glad you're here. Salma is an awesome patron. I'm glad that she could make it. All right, let's jump into some more questions that I have collected. Question 7 is from Sage. How to transition from topic to topic in a song? I wouldn't necessarily have multiple topics in a song. I would be reticent to do that because you want to stay focused on something specific. And usually a song is about one thing. But if you're going from thing to thing, you have to ask yourself, well, what do they have in common? What's the overall connecting thread? And as long as you focus on that or make that important as you're transitioning, you'll be fine. Sage also asked for question 8, what should a bridge be? Are there rules? There are no rules. There's no rules for any of this, but there's especially no rules for bridges. You can do whatever you want. Basically, the only rule with a bridge is just don't be a verse, chorus, or pre-chorus. Do something different. So a lot of times, particularly in lyric writing, that means looking at things from a different perspective. So if you've been looking at it from one person's perspective the whole song, all of a sudden, flip perspectives. Or the song's been really fast, well, slow down. Or, you've been using a lot of guitar, get rid of the guitar. And just do it differently. Usually the bridges are an opportunity to add dynamics. And so, if you've been arguing for why you want something, an entire song, maybe for the bridge, you kind of start talking about why, maybe you're doubtful of whether you actually do want it or what you do if you got it, So the bridge, just be different, which I have a feeling a lot of you guys don't have a problem doing. Question 9 from Jeremiah, how do I take an idea that does not feel like it fills a full song and make it bigger? The simple answer is go and journal about it. You got to think about it. You got to get more material. And a lot of times journaling is not only a way to gather material, but it's a way to create material. Question 10 from Jelena and Liliana. They're asking about the line between talking about an issue and being preachy or using too heavy-handed of metaphors. So you guys will probably recognize this struggle. And it's basically where people will write a song and it just feels too preachy, where it's like, okay, they're trying to get a point across, but they're not necessarily, it doesn't feel like it's a song. It feels like it's a sermon, right? Or they want me to do something. Like Lil Dicky's song about the earth or whatever, where he had all the pop stars. You're like, okay, this isn't so much a song as it is a catchy public service announcement, right? Which makes it maybe a bad song, but a really effective service announcement. So I would say that the line between that is partially what can your audience handle, like who's listening. And I would say that if you're worried about being too preachy, probably spend more time developing your own personal perspective or just being honest about how you feel about things, and do more focus on self-expression, and try to get rid of portions of your song that are more focused on convincing people of something. And you can be very subtle when you're trying to convince somebody of something. You can be like, look at this poor orphan and how tired and alone and sad and hungry they are. Well, you might be being preachy. Instead, maybe talk about your own perspective on hunger or something like that. Instead of trying to make people feel something, just tell the truth. That is almost always the answer. The two things that will almost always be the answer are tell the truth and go journal. Jelena and Lauren asked, line between hidden/personal meanings and then being pretentious or too confusing and cliche. So we see a lot of this probably in 21 Pilots, where there's definitely things like the Pantaloon is full of this stuff, and Aircatcher, particularly his older stuff, where you're not really sure if he is being like kind of pretentious and just creating this grand metaphor that none of us really understand, or if it's like him just trying to express his own personal emotion. And I would say that in kind of straddling that line, you're going to make mistakes, and some people think you're pretentious, other people won't. Some people will get it, some people will. Also, it just got a lot darker in here. Okay, but it doesn't look weird, it just looks kind of fuzzy. Light, come back. Okay. So I would just not worry about that too much, and more just ask yourself, what is the purpose of this song? Is the purpose to be some sort of personal meaning? If so, great, make it full of personal meaning. And if it's not, then don't. And if you are feeling like it might be too pretentious, then just go back to telling the truth and just say, wow, this metaphor is really getting kind of crazy. It sounds like I'm kind of full of it. Well, set the metaphor aside and just say what you mean to say. Put that in, see if you can make it sound better than the metaphor. If not, just go back to the metaphor. And then we'll get to some questions in the chat after this question. Question 12 is from Free Dobby. Great name. Do lyrics need to make sense? What about the Beatles and others? So they have a song called I Am the Walrus, I think, and it doesn't make any sense. And the answer is no. Lyrics don't need to make sense. You can just have fun with it. But at the same time, if your lyrics don't make sense, people will be less likely to connect with it. Nobody's favorite song is I Am the Walrus by the Beatles, I think. I hope. Usually songs that make sense connect with people more. But let's see what we got going on in the chat. So Sonia asks, this question caught my eye. Where to find the confidence to share whatever I write? I feel like I'm giving a part of me away in every song, and it's kind of hard for me to show it to my family and friends, which I totally get. I tell people all the time that I wrote a novel from like ages 15 to 17 and wouldn't show anybody except for like 2 people, and none of them were my parents or family because I was so afraid of what they would think. And I would say partially, you don't have to feel a lot of pressure to do that because the time will come when you're ready to share it. But if you're like, I think the time is now, but I'm having trouble acting on it, then I would I would just start easy. I would show it to people you are comfortable with. For me, that would have been friends, siblings, and then parents. And yeah, if I had gone to my parents and wanted to share something, I would have been like, hey, Mom and Dad, I'm writing a novel and I want to get some people's perspectives on it. Do you know of any people? And then they probably, and then they might have said, or you might say, I'm looking to maybe get coaching on this, but I just need people's perspectives. And then they would have said something like, oh, well, I could just take a look at it. I like that kind of stuff. At which point they're asking to look at it, which I think is a whole lot better and less awkward than you saying, hey, do you want to look at this? I wrote it. Which I realize that whole thing sounds a little bit manipulative, but that's how I would have done it to kind of make it less awkward. How do you use an extended metaphor, Bandito asks, or something similar from a journal entry to write a song? Well, you just do it. That's what I got for you. How do you... I don't know. I think you got to condense it to fit it into a song or make it a very large verse or a couple of verses. Pick the parts that are very important, and then you probably just have to make the song all about that. You need to go study other people who have done extended metaphors. Tyler Joseph obviously really good fit. Leave the City is a good one, and then Neon Gravestones to an extent, but maybe My Blood would be a better one. Aaron asks, should I always follow a song structure or go against it like what T.O.P. did on Levitate? Yeah, do whatever you want, man. Song structures are not the rule of law, that is for sure. Yep, do whatever you want. All right, Awesome Queen 04, how do you create a unique character like Blurry Face? I think you got to establish, you have to spend some time maybe just writing about or journaling about who this character is. Journaling is always the answer, journaling and telling the truth. And just kind of develop who they are before you start writing a song. And so, ask yourself, what do they look like? What do they sound like? What are some defining characteristics about them? How do they talk? And then you can get into like personality traits and things like that. And, Tyler highlights the dark part of his thoughts for that, right? So you might want to do something similar, or you kind of base it off of some part of you. There's going to be a little bit of the author in every character they create, or a little bit of somebody else, if that's if you're writing like a lot of characters. So base it off of truth and then go for it. All right, let's see what other, I'm going to jump back into my list of questions. Victoria asks, how important is it to use literary devices, and can you use too many? Literary devices in this case would probably be referring to metaphors or similes. A simile is like a metaphor, but it's when you use the word like. So I use the simile there. A simile is like a metaphor. So that is a simile. Like, he is like a lion, whereas a metaphor is he is a lion. And in those cases, it's just different emphasis. So you can really use either one, but as far as whether it's important to use literary devices, I think so. Imagery is another one, because literary devices are really how we like paint a picture for people. It's how we make something visually interesting. So it's going to be a lot easier for an audience to connect to a song if they're listening to something that helps them to create a picture in their mind. We humans are visual. Whether, however you learn, you're still a visual person. And so when you hear words describing a picture, you're going to think about it. You're going to think about the song more. You're going to be more part of that song. And you can use too many, but again, it just goes down to establishing what is the purpose of the song, and let's stick with that. Tyler asks, question 14, how can I learn to use internal rhyming? I mean, how can you learn to use internal rhyming? I think it's just something that you kind of have to do. I don't know that there's a step-by-step process to picking up the skill to rhyme internally, but probably a good way is just to pick a sound, like the sound I or A, and then just try to use words that have those inside of your lines in a particular stanza or a 4-line chunk, and just use that I or A sound in a lot of words. And then you can transition from there into actually doing internal rhymes. But so just be soundy first and then rhymey. Kenneth asks, how do I show, not tell, in a story for a concept album? I know I've listened to Trench, but I haven't listened to I haven't really like developed this deep love for concept albums that I think a lot of people have, just based on like my musical appreciations. But I think a lot of that tries to get, if you're going to do a concept album well, you kind of have to get into the essence of each individual song, like what's the spirit of the song. And so the concept album doesn't have to be the character did this and then did this and then did this all the way through. You can kind of get into the essence of what each song is supposed to be and kind of develop it from there. Nathan asks, how to not be cliche in your metaphors? Well, the easy answer would just be, don't use metaphors that other people have used before, ever, and just come up with completely unique stuff. But the harder or the longer answer would be something like, I don't know. I've been answering so many questions. It's like I've been answering very quickly, and it's like my mouth is trying to catch up to my brain, or no, vice versa. Brain is trying to catch up to mouth here. How to not be cliche in your metaphors. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let's turn that over to you for a second. How do you not be cliche in your metaphors? I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. I would say that a really good way to do that would just be to be descriptive. If you can show that you've actually seen a picture of this thing that you're describing, like when Tyler talks about the suicidal crazed lions and the islands of violence, right, in Migraine. He talks about the blood running down their chins, which is a very small detail that you might not have noticed if you weren't actually there. Now, Tyler hasn't been there, but by giving that small detail, it makes it sound like he was. And so even like a cliched thing, you could say, what's a cliche? I can never think of cliches when it's time to think of cliches. I'm going to Google cliches. Examples of cliches. All that glitters isn't gold, kiss and make up. He has his tail between his legs. So he has his tail between his legs would be like somebody being ashamed of something that they have done, or being afraid. And so you could make that not a cliche by just describing that more and going deeper into it and making it more interesting, kind of making it your own, giving specific details. It's usually a good way to do it. All right. Roses are red. Oh, that's a good cliche. I love you like the ocean loves water. That's another one. Let's see. Yeah, Bandito's mentioning the Discord server where you can go and share your lyrics. There's a link somewhere. Somebody share that. I don't think I have it with me, actually. I'll share it again at some point. Just keep an eye out on the channel. All right, so then question 17, Sam and Chloe asked, how to be catchy without being cringy? That's a really good question. Well, first step, don't be cringy. Second step, be catchy. No, I would say that the way to do that would just be to be honest. So don't try to convince people of things. Don't try to make people feel things necessarily. Just let them feel things based on the truth. That's the thing that most songwriters don't get, is they think, I've got to make people feel sad. This is a sad song, and I want people crying. That is not how you make a lasting work of art, a piece of song that really touches people. You just tell your own story, or you tell the truth of something that happened, or you just, delve into some feelings or into some emotions. If you spend any time thinking about what you want your audience to feel, you're wasting your time. You got to just focus on telling the truth, and then the truth will speak to people, all right? Next question from Sammy is, how do you rhyme/create a cadence without all your lyrics sounding the same or becoming like a nursery rhyme? That is a fair question. It's probably especially relevant to raps. You got to listen to people who have written stuff before and get exposed to new rhythms. Let me try to do something here. My name is Cliff, and I want to say, I hope you're having a great day. See, I'm based... April's laughing. It was it was supposed to be a bad example, April.
That was your good example.
No, it was not my good example.
I thought we were trying to avoid the nursery rhyme thing.
No, I was trying to give a bad example. Oh my gosh, you're so embarrassing. Go away.
Do you want to take Galaxy?
She can stay in if she wants and promises not to bark.
Galaxy promises not to bark.
Oh my gosh, so embarrassing. No duh, April is laughing. Thanks, Samantha.
I want to hear your good example.
I wasn't going to come up with a good example because you can't just come up with good examples. I was just trying to say, this is probably what you're struggling with. I would just spend more time, try to write some words out first and then put a cadence to them rather than starting with the cadence. Let the cadence come from the words rather than the words come from the cadence, if that makes sense. You're so annoying. You're such a jerk. Gail says, hey, April, hey, Galaxy. Strudel's down there, too, by the way. I can't believe you forgot him. Sorry, Sam. I didn't know you went by Sam.
Who's Sam?
It used to be Samantha, but now it's Sam. Salma says, hi, April.
Hey, Salma.
Actually, first she said, hi, Apri, and then she said, April, asterisk. Gotta be accurate. Truth. Tell the truth.
Can you see this? Can they see this? I just pet the dogs. This is what my hand looks like.
Oh, gross. Get away.
So,
Too much fur.
So covered in
Rub
hair.
it on the ground or something.
It's horrifying.
Oh my gosh, they're such hairy beasts.
They're so hairy.
Can you bring Strudel up high?
Oh, but he's so heavy.
Do I like Dan Reynolds as a songwriter? Not all the time, no. He's getting big. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. Hey, there you go. There you are. Okay, cool. Go away now, Strudel.
He looks content for being held.
Yeah, usually he's super awkward on camera. He's just being good. Hey, he's just looking at me. I was like, what's he looking at? Look at the camera. Whoa.
Oh, good job.
Hi. Little faux pas. Okay. All right.
Okay. Okay, there you
I'm glad you guys enjoy this dog.
go. Okay, I'll take one of the dogs with me.
You have the cutest dog. Thanks, Sonia.
Who wants to come?
This is great comedic relief. Thanks, babe. Pups are gone. You can hear Galaxy in the background. Baroof! She's just like punctuates whatever anybody else is saying. Let's see what we got next. How do you switch up your lyrics writing style while staying true to yourself? Sammy, I don't know. I don't exactly know what that means, actually. How do you switch up your lyrics writing style while staying true to yourself? Just don't try to be somebody else. Just try to do something different. I mean, you can always try to do something like somebody else, but don't. It'd be like me trying to make videos like ARTV and being disappointed when people weren't as excited about those videos as they were about when ARTV does them, you know? So, yeah. Salma, you had a question, Salma. Your question's up. Here it is. April left all this dog hair on my desk. It all fell off her hand when she was showing it to you guys. Go away, hair. Weird hairs. So much hair. Oh my gosh. Salma's question. I've been stuck for a little bit over 2 months now. My mind does not and cannot think about anything but Sam's death, my cat. And every time I try writing about anything else, I just can't. The topics feel forced, not real. The thing is it is just too soon for me to write about Sam, and I don't know if I will ever be able to write about him. I'm stuck and I don't know what to do. To be honest, I would say that you don't need to pressure yourself to write something. I would say that first of all, and you know, you and I have talked about this with your cat, and I know that that's a really difficult thing to go through. But I don't know. I wouldn't pressure yourself to do it necessarily. What I would do is, okay, so here's the basic premise, is if your mind goes through something that's traumatic like that, you know, you take a hit, right? And it takes time to heal from a hit. And so what I would do is more focus on things to help heal mentally and emotionally than I would try to focus on outputting things. You're not going to output good things until you've taken care of your inner life, right? So my recommendation in this case would be to journal, because that's always my recommendation. But it would be to focus on healing and grieving effectively and going through the stages of grief and the loss and everything, rather than say, all right, I've got to write some really great lyrics, or even like I've got to write some lyrics to process that, because, you know, I know you, I've talked to you, you haven't been writing lyrics for long. And so that's, you know, some people, that's their way to get through things. But if I were you, I would go make a movie, because I think you could probably make a much better little vignette about this than you would write a song lyric necessarily, just because of your relative experience. But so that's what I got. I hope that's helpful. H asks, how do you recommend translating vivid detail into a song? I would honestly recommend focusing on just picking very small specific details. You can't fit a lot of detail into a song, and so just pick one that really sticks out to you. For Tyler, in that example I gave earlier in Migraine, he focuses on you know, the suicidal crazed lions with the blood running down their chin, and that's the detail he highlights. So I would just focus on a couple of details. One more question, then we'll jump into the chat. Bandito asks, what are some ways to make perfect rhymes sound more emotional rather than childish? Well, a lot of times doing imperfect rhymes is the fix for that. And then a lot of times it's going to be in the delivery, so you can kind of make it go off rhythm a little bit if you want. But overall, like, that's just kind of the thing that perfect rhymes do, is they just sound very simple, cut and dried, and that's the rhyme, and there it is. So if you're wanting to make things more complicated, you could do a 2-syllable rhyme. So that can help things make a little bit more, give them a little bit more depth. You can just do imperfect rhymes. You could not rhyme. Sometimes rhyming takes away from the moment. So I just wouldn't pressure yourself to use perfect rhymes. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Comments. Can you say something to my teacher to get me out of doing class? Hey teacher. No, I don't have anything for you. Cactus Pillow. I stand Tyler Joseph and I don't care who knows it. I think there are probably 57 other people in the chat right now who would agree with you though. Let's see what we got. P.S. I have the same pen as you, Mr. Crazens. You have this pen right here. Crazy. Samantha Sparks. I struggle with an eating disorder and want to write a song about it, but I don't want to trigger anyone. Is there a way I could do that? That's a really good question. That's also very thoughtful of you. I would say that usually using a metaphor, talking about a blurry face, something like that is a good way to go through that. Because you're not going to be using specific details that could be triggering, but you can still get very detailed in the metaphor. And so you'll write a good song and it will be technically be about something else, but that something else means the thing you mean it to mean, right? So metaphors are a good way to go. Do you think I'd be successful if I went back and finished the song I barely started a while ago? I'm not in the same mindset as I was then, but I think my idea had some potential. Yeah, but feel free to let it change. You might be like, wow, that song I started off was really strong. And if you go back, you're going to probably tell yourself, oh, I don't really want to change this because I remember thinking that this was really strong. You got to let that happen. Like, you're a different person now. You're not going to ever write the same song you would have written back then. So kill your darlings. That's the answer to a lot of things too. Don't just do something because that's the way that it sounded so good a long time ago. Move on. Sad but true. Hale E, how do you learn to like your songs? I feel like all of mine are trash, but I deep down know that they're not. Yeah, that's really good. I'm glad you got the deep down side of things. That's really, really good. A lot of people can't say the same thing. But how to learn to like your songs? Some people never do. Sometimes you just are always nervous about what you share with other people. And sometimes you got to just put it out there. Sometimes getting a little bit of hate, actually, after you put it out there is a good thing to do. Because what's the worst that's going to happen? Oh, somebody's going to give you a bad comment. Well, what does that mean for you? How does your life change? It doesn't. Okay, well, I guess that's not a big deal then, in some cases, right? But so sometimes that can be part of the reason that people don't like their own songs is just because they're nervous about it. But I would say that if you personally look at your song, you're like, oh man, I'm so embarrassed. I don't like this. What will other people think? But deep down, you're like, no, but I really like this. This is really good. You got to just really focus on what you feel is the most true and go with that. You got to be honest with yourself and be like, look, this isn't crap. Go look at some of the old stuff that Tyler Joseph's put out. I mean, he's done plenty of crap songs too. There's some stuff on No Fun Intended that just isn't really that great. And Self-Titled has some amateur mistakes as well. I mean, there's probably even some stuff on Blurry Face that's just not that inspiring. Sorry to say it, but, we can't put people up on pedestals like that, right? So that'd be the encouragement I'd give you is nobody's perfect and, pay attention to what you know is actually right. All right. Let's jump back into my long list, which is actually well over halfway done. So that's good. And we're going to be done by 5 because I got a life to live, got things to do. I mean, I'm living my life right now too. That's true. But I have other parts of the life to live, sadly. Working on a video for next week, how to write lyrics. No, not how to write lyrics. How 21 Pilots writes lyrics, part 2. You've probably watched the part 1 video. Maybe you have. If you haven't, what are you doing? But if you have, you'll know that it was one of my favorite videos I've ever made. And we're going to update it with Trench data to see how Trench changed how 21 Pilots writes lyrics. And I don't even know yet because I haven't collected the data, but it's going to be fun. So, all right, next question. Umar, how do you turn feelings to lyrics? I don't know. You do. Journaling. That's a good way to process things. A lot of times a metaphor or journaling are good answers to that. How to write lyrics to melody. Gosh, I don't like doing it that way. I like to just kind of put it together organically as it goes. So I would just say don't. But if you're like, I've got a melody, I got to put some lyrics to it. You really just have to kind of sing it and just work it out piece by piece. Unless you can get it written down on paper and you can kind of like put a syllable with different notes or something like that. Cam asks, what's the best way to avoid repeating yourself in lyrics? I don't think it's necessarily bad to repeat yourself in lyrics. And his follow-up question is, when is it bad to repeat lyrics and when does it work? The best way to avoid it is just to not do it. But I would say that it is not necessarily bad. It can be really great in a chorus. A lot of 21 Pilots' most popular songs have some of the most repetition of any songs of 21 Pilots. And I know I'm using all 21 Pilots examples today, but that's just where we are. So whatever. Yeah, so go ahead, repeat yourself. It does work in choruses a lot. Verses is not usually great because verses are a lot better place to add some dynamics. If your whole song has been repetitive, I wouldn't be repetitive in your bridge. But if your song hasn't been that repetitive, then your bridge can be a great place to be repetitive as well. And a lot of people kind of do repetitive fade outs in the outro, so that's always an option. Naomi asks, is it necessary to make song lyrics rhyme? Absolutely not. Do whatever you want. Just make it so you like it and so that whoever you want to like it has a good chance of liking it. Chloe, I would love to know how I can make my lyrics flow while still keeping the meaning. Yeah, that's something we talked about earlier. I would identify what your story is. Because we talked about whether something's clever or not and whether we should let that get in the way of the story. And the answer is, no. Like, story comes first. Go through, and if something doesn't flow right and it's keeping away from the meaning of the song or the story of the song, get rid of it. But as far as flow, I would guess you're probably like talking about the rhythm, and that's really just an editing process, just saying like, well, okay, what's a different way to say this? Hey, this stanza doesn't flow, but it has the meaning. Okay, how can we rewrite this? What parts don't flow? Do we add an extra line? And you just have to be willing to go back and edit things. A lot of times songwriting can just be a process of drafts again and again and again. And sometimes you're like, I give up on this stanza. Let's just start all over. And you just start all over. We've got a few more questions here, but I want to take a couple of questions from the chat in a second. Sam asks, how to remember song lyrics for someone with autism? And I don't actually know the answer to that question, not being, as familiar with autism myself. But I know that me personally, I'm really bad at remembering song lyrics. And so if you're, you can always I'll give you the advice I would give somebody who just, like me, has a bad memory. And for me, probably I would just have to intentionally sit down and remember them and read them. And sometimes writing them out multiple times can be a good way to remember too. Marshall asked, should I try to identify how I'm feeling before writing lyrics down, or should I just write whatever comes and discover my emotions that way? Both can be helpful. A lot of times I like to discover the emotions myself through journaling, and then I'll start to journal song lyrics as I've started to like narrow things, and then I'll take the song lyrics and I'll be like, I like these parts, those parts. Let's reorganize these and put these down here in this order, and it kind of way to tell the story. So kind of you just blah the story out, and then you can go back and like put in all the parts that you like. So Hannah, for the lyric writing question, a lot of times I'll come up with a line or a word picture that I like and could see going somewhere, but I don't know how to expand on it and flesh it out into a full song. Well, sometimes you save it and you find a song that it would fit into better. That's one way you could do it, Hannah. And then sometimes you can just give more detail. Really, though, I would say the best advice I could give you here would just be to write it down, save it for later, and wait till you have a song idea, and then go back through all your written down ideas and see like, oh, this one would fit with this. It's called having a lyric bank. The How to Write Original Lyrics That Sound Good course has a lesson on that. And I think maybe the 21 Pilots doesn't talk about that one. But really the big idea is just you got to save your ideas, write them down, and then find something that they fit with well. Don't feel pressure to create something out of it right now. But if you want to create something right now, try to figure out what the deeper meaning of it is to you, and then write a song about that deeper meaning and let that picture or line be part of it. 5 more questions, and we'll jump back into the chat, and then we'll actually be getting pretty close to being done. Cheryl asks, I can't write lyrics that make sense. How can I make lyrics that match up to the song's meaning? Yeah, that might be a pretty difficulty there. How can I make lyrics that match up to the song's meaning? Really, it's going to be about the editing process. Write a lot of lyrics and then go through and get rid of the ones that you like the least, and then add more lyrics and go through and get rid of the ones you like the least, and then organize it all to fit into one thing. That'll be the best way to do it. Griffin asks, how can I write and remember meaningful lyrics without a notebook near me? Guys, do any of you struggle with this, where you like have an idea and you're like, I'll remember this one. You try, and then a few days later, you're like, what was that idea again? Oh, shoot, I should have written it down, because I'll never, ever remember it again. I can think of an idea, and 30 seconds later be like, all right, now I need to write it down, because I was thinking about something else or got distracted. Like, what was that idea? It was so brilliant. It was the best idea I've ever come up with, and I don't know how that happens. It's so sad. Your phone probably has a notebook feature. Keep a pen with you. Write something down on your arm or a napkin or your leg, or I don't know. Honestly, if you figure out the answer to that one, let me know. How should I create the song? Should it be from a personal issues or something that I saw from the news? You can do it either way. Typically, I think the personal issues ones are more powerful, or if you can connect something from the news to your own experience, but either one works. Sophia asks, what's the boundary between poetry and lyrics? Ooh, this is a really interesting one. So lyrics don't necessarily have to be, they have to have a decent rhythm, which poetry doesn't always have to. Poetry will use more sound correlation, typically more rhymes or alliteration or something, or very strong imagery, whereas lyrics can be a little bit more relaxed. Lyrics can sometimes just be worse poetry because they're being put to music, and so a lot of times the euphony that we look for from art, written, word art, euphony being good sounds. So in a poem, you want good images, you want sound correlations like rhymes, alliteration, stuff like that. Orange wallflowers at Disneyland. Oh, so jealous. Oh man, distractible I am. But lyrics have music, so it's like added gravy when you have rhymes, and it makes lyrics even more powerful and awesome, and sometimes better than poems because they have that music to rely on. But I would say that's the basic difference. And typically, the functions of stanzas and lyrics are going to be a little bit different, whereas poems, stanzas, sometimes you'll have refrains, but you don't really have like verses, choruses, and pre-choruses typically. And finally, the final question here, and then we'll jump into the chat. Chuck the man asks, Chuck the dude, Chuck, well, maybe actually Chuck could be a girl's name, couldn't it? I guess if you've watched Pushing Daisies, Chuck is a girl's name. Anyway, Chuck, this person, says, can lyrics be used when written by one who has no musical background? Absolutely, they can. A lot of people will have a librettivist or something. I don't remember the word. It's Italian or something. But they'll have like one person comes up with the music, one person comes up with the lyrics. I think Gilbert and Sullivan were like that, and probably Rodgers and Hammerstein I think were like that. So yes, you totally can come up with lyrics without any musical background. Go for it. So let's see what questions we have in the chat. Yes, Sam, I love Pushing Daisies. What are you talking about? Yeah, and Aaron is correct. If you are looking for reviews of your lyrics, check out my Patreon. That's a great place to do it. Typically, if somebody signs up at the songwriter level, I'll immediately, if you ask for it, I'll immediately send you a lyric critique of whatever song you're working on within a couple of days. But is writing the struggles of a fictional persona dishonest? Crispy Bits asks. Absolutely not. Go for it. But just tell that story the right way. Don't try to like make up stuff. Like if you're writing about somebody with bipolar disorder, go and research bipolar disorder so that you're not, just kind of projecting your own thoughts onto it. If you're writing from a fictional persona, you still have to be honest from that persona, what that persona would really be experiencing. Bandito, is spoken word just slow rap or something? I'm genuinely confused as to what classifies something as spoken word. Sort of. Going to be less focused on rhythm to an extent. Probably have more, sometimes less sound correlation, honestly, but maybe more diverse types, whereas rap is a lot of times just focused on assonance and rhyming. And then there's a lot of like slowing down and speeding up, so the cadence can really get a lot crazier. And there's a lot more emphasis on the emotion in the voice. Orange Wallflower, and usually it's like one big verse essentially. How do you put metaphors into a song without making the metaphors too cheesy or cliche? Oh. Sorry, your question put me to sleep. No, I'm just kidding. I just yawned. Now tell me, after I yawn, do all of you guys just start yawning? Was that like, did I just infect you? Without making the metaphors too cheesy or cliche, just give more details, like really describe the metaphor, give it more than just like a quick mention, like the pen was mightier than the sword. Like, give some actual description. Like, Tyler starts talking about how his pen was a harpoon, right? Let's see. Will you save this live so I can watch it later, Skylar? Absolutely. Usually I go through and delete old videos that didn't get a lot of views after 6 months, so that's a thing. Orange wallflower. Yeah, Orange wallflower was right. You can join the Discord, and there's a channel dedicated to people giving feedback on lyrics and stuff. That is a great way to do it too. I will go ahead and pull up a link to the Discord real quick to share with you guys, actually, while I keep looking at questions. What is the best way to write from another real person's perspective? Starflight 12 Dish asks. That's a great question, Starflight 12 Dish, who has been instrumental in helping me research things over the past couple of weeks, and who's a great member of the Discord. You got to understand their perspective. You really got to understand it and make it your own for the moments that you're writing in it. You got to become that person, not in an unhealthy, weird way, but like you got to like understand. So you got to ask questions. You got to like really figure it out in an empathetic way, not just in a how can we figure it out, which is a lot of times how I go about it. I am going to give you guys the link to this community. Discord says streamer mode enabled. I don't know what that means. I'm just going to get in and get out. Invite people. Get you guys a linkity link, and you're welcome to come and join. This link will expire in 1 day, so use it quick. There you go. Join the Discord. How can I improve my song structure? Just write songs, man. You got to practice it. You got to get better just through practicing. I wouldn't say that song structure is something that necessarily can be improved, but if you want to use the verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, that can be a really good way to practice. What's the best way to get ideas for songwriting? K-Tay Stan asks. The best way to get ideas for songwriting is to take in information, whether that's journaling, to take in information about yourself, talking to other people, watching a documentary, watching YouTube videos, whatever it is, something that's information rich. Information, when it gets in your brain, it starts to mix together, and you have like this metaphor idea over here, and you have this topic idea, and then they like bump into each other. That's how ideas are created. Let's see, any more questions about lyric writing? If my teacher said I need to work on a song that I think is perfect, is it bad? Well, it depends on the purpose. If you're trying to write it for people like your teacher, then keep working on it. If you're just writing it for yourself and you're happy with it, great. But if you want other people to see it, sometimes the teacher's perspective can be a really good way to figure that out. All right. Yeah, where's the link? I sent you an email. I'm one of the moderators. Oh, yeah, Salma is one of the moderators. My link, they blocked my link? Why would they block my link? I'm the channel person. This is my channel. Why can't I put links in my own? I'm not currently signed in? Oh my gosh. Why am I not currently signed in? What is going on? Anyway. Weird. Let me fix this, guys. There's dust on my computer. This is terrifying. Why did it just like sign me out? That's insane. I'm so glad that I'm still able to like broadcast to you guys and see what's going on. Signing in. I don't know what the heck is going on, people. I'm the pop song professor. Sign in. Okay, cool. I want somebody to put lyrics to that, by the way. Get on it, people. Okay, good. I'm signed in. I'm the channel person. Thank you, Salma. YouTube doing Cliff Stupids. Yep. All right, did this link go through? Yay, it did. There's the link. Bye, Samantha. I'm literally in the library pretending I'm busy. Emma, you are a genius. You got your priorities in the right spot. How do you write emotionally without sounding like an edgy 13-year-old? lots of practice, and not trying to say too much. Like, focus on a small aspect of it, have some mature thoughts about it through thinking about it, and then go from there. But don't try to cover too much ground. That's usually the big mistake that 13-year-olds make. Everyone join the Discord, quick and quack. Thanks, Aaron. That's well said. Well said. How to get inspired but not too much? I don't know. You can't be that picky. What are you talking about? How do I write raw emotional stuff that does not sound weird? It's always going to sound weird to somebody. That's just the truth. Is it okay to be nostalgic in your storytelling at 20? Yeah, you got plenty to be nostalgic about. You've been around for like 2 decades. Come on. Like 150 years ago, that would have been like 2/3 of your life. Maybe 4/5, 4/7, something like that. I don't know. Whatever. But anyway, glad that we have some people joining the Discord. That's cool. We'll see you guys there soon. So, yeah, we're going to wrap it up here. But I wanted to let you guys know something big is happening. You guys are the lyric writers on this channel. You're here. You're watching this. I'm putting out another Lyric Hero workshop coming up. You can sign up for it up until Monday. It's 5 weeks of meeting with me and 5 other song lyric writers like as a group for, let me get this link here. I'll send you guys the link in the chat. And then I'll really get into it. Putting it in the chat. You guys can go check it out over there. But yeah, this is for people who are really serious and want to commit some time and a little bit of money to their lyric writing skills and experiences. Basically, if you want to be a lyric hero, you spend those 5 weeks with me and 5 other lyric writers talking about how to improve your lyrics. Every week, everybody brings a song. We all talk about it, give advice and suggestions. You get access to the How to Write Original Lyrics That Sound Good course, which is usually $200 by itself, plus the mentorship and the coaching from me and other people, which is several other $100. And then there's a big surprise that comes at the end that's worth a couple of $100 too. So overall, it's like $730 or something like that. And you can find the link there and see all of that good stuff. But the big point here is that if you want to join a community, like if you want that accountability, you want to learn how to write lyrics, not only from me, but from other people who are also getting started or have been doing it for a while, it's a really good experience. We might have a few people in here who have taken it before, but there'll be some more emails and different things coming out in the future. So just be sure to keep an eye out for that, but know that there are only 6 slots. And actually, I got an email saying that one of them, I sent out the announcement opening signups today, and within within an hour, one spot already got taken. So there's actually only 5 spots left, and it only goes till Monday. So if you guys really want to jump on some lyric writing and be part of a cool community of people, like a small cool community of people who are really serious about it, you want some top-notch feedback both from me and from others, it's a good thing to be part of. Good chance for you guys to become a lyric hero. So link in the description, all that good stuff. I'll put the link in the chat one more time if that is something that you are interested in. And if you're too broke, no worries. Just be sure to sign up for the usual like magical songwriting process. That's all free. That'll get you started. So yeah, thanks guys for watching. This was super fun. I'm gonna go and see what you guys are saying in the chat real quick, and then we are going to jump out of here and get back to life. Usually my reason for getting off of a live stream is that I have to go do the dishes, and while I do have to do the dishes today, I'm probably gonna go do laundry next. Actually, I gotta keep pushing loads through. So, oh, Salma. Yeah, Salma was one of the people who have taken the workshop, and she says it's amazing. So there you go, right? Okay, cool. Thanks, Salma. She was one of the first 5 people. Yeah, she's right. She was really good at it too. She was worried that she wasn't very experienced in songwriting, so she was nervous about how it was going to go, but she did such a good job. It was really impressive. Glad to see you guys are joining the Discord. We'll see you guys over there soon, which is awesome. Somebody sent me an email. That's cool. I'll see it soon. Well, actually, Jeremiah, you're probably the Jeremiah whose question we answered earlier in this live stream. So you'll have to find that. Good luck. Sorry. But yeah, the stream will remain on the channel, so you can definitely check it out. All right. Thanks so much for watching, guys. It's always a blast hanging out with you guys because you guys are literally the coolest. And have a great day. I'll talk to you all next time. Actually, I'm probably going to put out a video.